for joining. We are going to be having our Saga community call here with some updates around the project, and at the end, we'll have some time for questions for anybody that's been dying to ask the team a question. So, as you can see in the pinned message at the top of the chat here, we just released our AlphaNet, which is our first live product that we're going to be giving out to our innovators. And it's the first major step for us. And as well as that, we recently launched our website, our new revamped website that I think everyone should check out. It's awesome. Yeah, but feel free to go ahead, Rebecca. Do you have any additional comments, or Jen?
Yeah, so thank you guys for joining wherever you are. So it's where I am on San Francisco, it's morning, but thank you to our whole community for taking the time to come onto this call. This is really a time for you guys to learn more about what's been happening at Saga and, of course, to ask any questions. As Joe mentioned, we did release AlphaNet last Thursday. It's very exciting for us. It's the very first product that we are putting out there. It is early. It's the very first version of what Saga will eventually become. But what AlphaNet is all about is allowing developers to take any EVM applications and automatically launch them onto a dedicated chain. It's been known for some time that the first kind of virtual machine that will support for this kind of automated deployment is the EVM. And we'll continue to refine the EVM throughout the AlphaNet building process all the way to mainnet. But as is the case from the very beginning, our aspiration is to be VM agnostic. So the next kind of VM that we'll support is likely to be WASM. And after that, we'll start expanding to others. Candidates there include the Solana VM. It's compatible with Cosmos, a Move VM, perhaps an Aptos VM. We'll see where the demand is from our developers. We're starting off with the EVM. So that is what AlphaNet allows you to do. All of our releases will have names. So this AlphaNet is named Andromeda. And so if you are part of our innovator program already, then this AlphaNet is being released to you. First and foremost, if you would like to potentially get whitelisted for getting the AlphaNet, but you're not yet an innovator, please feel free to reach out to us via our website, and we'll get in touch with you from there. But we're super excited to have put this first iteration of the product out to our community so they can start working with it. The other big announcement that we had at the same time was that the first cohort of our Saga Innovator Program is now complete. So we wanted to have 55 projects for this initial cohort, and it is an amazing group of 55. They are games, game backends, game studios, NFT platforms, DeFi projects. We have a few refi and other use cases in there as well. But the vast majority are games, and we're just thrilled to have them. These are all incredibly innovative developers and entrepreneurs that are building in this space. And you can check out a profile for all of these innovators on our website and get to know them a lot better. As we said before, this is the very first cohort. We will open up a second cohort shortly in anticipation of our second release. But I think we're going to start capping the number of innovators, at least for this period running up to mainnet. So the purpose of having these kinds of programs is to make sure that we are fostering an early ecosystem, and also that we're spending some meaningful time with every innovator to get their product feedback, to understand what their objectives are for building their project. How can we help? So we definitely want to make sure that we're giving them all the resources that we can, which is why it's not a completely open process that we're running. But if anyone wants to potentially join such a program, or if you'd like to learn more about what we've already been doing with our innovators, again, please feel free to reach out to anyone on the team on this call here. Feel free to go to our website and contact us. We promise we do read every single submission that comes in. So we look forward to hearing from you. But yeah, exciting times at Saga. We're very proud of the ecosystem we've already built. Really excited about this product and revealing it to you. And with that, let me turn it back to Joe.
Yeah, sounds good. So Rebecca covered a lot there. What you can expect from us coming up is a lot more of these Twitter spaces with our innovators. We have a great pipeline of partners and innovators. So they'll be coming on once or twice a week, and you'll see everything from gaming, metaverse, refi as infrastructure, as Rebecca mentioned. Um, yeah. Uh, Jin, do you have any comments about the about our progress so far?
I think it's pretty fantastic that we can get something out to um, our innovators. I think essentially, if you think about it, our ultimate product is going to be a chain that launches these chainlets. But if we can get developers early on in getting a chainlet essentially without even before the provisioning side of our our mainnet is ready, then we can get them kind of getting started on developing really interesting products and seeing how they can utilize the chainlets once it actually launches. So it's a really good opportunity for us to have that conversation with developers and innovators.
Yeah, and the pipeline is long, and there's a lot of desire for uh, projects like Saga. There's so many people that are coming to this conclusion that the app chain thesis is correct, and modular blockchains and having your own block space so you can control the environment more fine grained is the future, especially for the gaming community, which is what we're focusing on. So yeah, the possibilities are endless. It's just so exciting to get our first product out there, getting it in the hands of developers. They can tell us what's right, what's wrong, how we can improve it, and that's how you build products. You have to ship and iterate, and that's what I'm so excited to get the first one out. So um, yeah. Rex, do you have any comments? Rex is leading. He was really one of the key players that filled out this 55 innovators. He's had a history with NVIDIA of just having an eye for building a developer community. And yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say, Rex, about the impressive 55 people that we already have lined up.
Yeah, I think things I've learned. And this isn't that. Like, our goal is to add value continually to these folks and these developers, and to share their work and to highlight what they're doing on an ongoing basis. So I think I'm most excited about, like, now that we've announced this, like, that's just the beginning. I mean, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep engaging with the community, putting out more and more content, working with them to highlight the innovations they're doing, and then also give them further early access to some of the work that we're doing. So I'm really excited, and this is just the beginning.
Yeah, well said. Um, I guess for other big things coming up, there's probably plenty of cosmonauts in this room. There's a Cosmoverse coming up in 2 weeks, roughly. So we will be there in force, and we will have a booth with our with the classic wormhole that you'll see on our website, which I again recommend everyone going to. So uh, there's going to be a bit of a surprise there, some fun Web3 engagement. If you happen to stop by our booth and get a partake in the wormhole treasure hunt, is probably about all I can say for now. Um, yeah, it'll be exciting, and anybody that can make it, we'd love to have you stop by. Um, any other comments, Rebecca? Around Cosmoverse. Rebecca's going to many conferences in the coming weeks. So if you're going to crypto conferences, you'll probably see her, and feel free to tap her on the shoulder and say what up and that you're a big Saga fan. I'm sure she'd appreciate it.
Yes, no, I'd love to meet any and all people in our community and wider Web3 in general. But honestly, if you want to chat because you've been dying to tell us that a certain aspect of Saga kind of sucks, please feel free to tell me that as well. I'm just happy to hear from you guys. But yeah, as Joe mentioned, we are going to be at Cosmoverse. Please stop by our booth. The treasure hunt that he talked about it's quite an experience. So that'll be a ton of fun. And I mean, I kind of want to keep playing it, even though I really shouldn't. I should reserve that for the community. But yeah, that'll be a ton of fun. We'll have a keynote address at Cosmoverse as well. So if you are there, please stop by, say hello. Joe mentioned that I'll be at a bunch of different conferences, so the rest of the team will as well. But just so you guys know, next week I'll be in New York for Masari Mainnet. Cosmoverse is in Medellin, Colombia, which is right after that. And then I'm going to zip back to San Francisco for Converge, which is the first Circle conference ever, I think. And then later on in the fall, there will be TechCrunch Disrupt, also here in San Francisco, and a few other conferences that are centered around the Solana conference in Lisbon. That's early November, so we're not sure that we're going to go to that one exactly, but there will be some events around that we might appear at. So yeah, if you're attending any of these, or if you're in the same city, definitely feel free to shout. Probably the best place to do it is either here on Twitter or on our Telegram chat, or even Discord. But I would love to meet as many of you in person as possible.
Awesome. So for an additional fun, engaging content for this week, I'm sure most of the people in the crowd here are fairly into the cryptocurrency space and know that the Ethereum merge is coming up, which is probably one of the most historic events in crypto history. So I recommend everyone tune in, bring your popcorn. Like, who knows if it's going to go good or bad? If it goes good, this could be just a defining moment in history. If it goes bad, you want to be on crypto Twitter. But tomorrow we will be presenting a blog post that our excellent coworker Cheyenne made. If you haven't dug super deep into the inner workings of ETH 2.0 and how it works and how it might differ from Tendermint, which is probably the world leading proof of stake consensus mechanism at the moment, it's a great walkthrough of the differences, the pros and cons of both architectures, because I think there's really, really smart people at both teams for Cosmos and Ethereum, and they came up with some differing ideas and mechanics around how the blockchain works. So tune in tomorrow with Jack Zamplin for Twitter Space, and he's just an absolute expert on all things cryptocurrency, consensus, Tendermint, Ethereum. Like, you go down the list, he's a pro. So that'll be really fun tomorrow. Yeah, I'm not sure what else we have on the radar. Any additional comments, Jin or Rex? No, cool. So, Rebecca, is there any other major updates that we want to have for the community? Or one other thing, if anyone wants to ask a question, I think now or whenever is an appropriate time to just raise your hand or nudge me or any of the other co-hosts. And then we can let you up here and you can feel free to ask a question.
Yeah, I think we've gone through all of our high-level updates, so definitely happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I mean, just on just general crypto topics, I think it's pretty exciting that Saga is starting to release our first product to allow for automated deployment of Cosmos blockchains. Like that has, or I guess you could say IBC enabled blockchains, but it'll be an EVM. But that's always been the vision from Saga since day one, since we came up with it when we were all at a meetup in Vegas when we were working for Tendermint. We always thought that the future was being able to automatically deploy your own application specific blockchain that comes IBC enabled, so it's an interoperable out of the box. That's always been the dream, and it's amazing to finally be able to ship it and for it to become reality. And I just couldn't be more excited for the upcoming months and years as we improve this protocol and get it working as we dreamed. We have one request from Blockchain North. Cool. Oh no, there he's back now. Okay. I will let you on stage. Ask your question.
Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
I can hear you.
Yes.
Hello. Good evening. It's evening already around here. Nice to be on the call today. I've always missed it. So I became very interested in Saga, right from um, when you guys started the fundraising from the private down to the seed round and all that. And I just wanted to ask because we're building.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You came in clear for all that.
So yeah, so we're building it.
That was me talking. I don't know if this other person is joined.
No, Rex, sorry. Please, we have a person from the community who's asking a question.
Yeah, I just muted him. We're good. Can
Okay,
continue.
thank
Sorry
you.
about that,
Okay.
sir.
Sorry about that.
All right. Okay. So yeah, so on Cosmos, but it's an cross-chain solution on Moonbeam. So I wanted to know if Saga has some kind of cross-chain functionalities or features, that we can leverage on. The solution we're building, like I said, is a marketplace for farmers. We are yet to launch, though. We are on our closed user testing stage, and so we're doing a couple of integrations here and there before we finally launch. So I would like to know if that future is on Saga already, and then what can we like how can we be able to use what you are offering, to be able to have, because the idea is to have a very simple dApp that is usable by everyone, both people that are non-tech savvy and tech savvy guys. So that's what we're building at the moment. And yeah, I don't know if the question is clear.
Yeah. No, that's definitely clear.
Okay.
So that was a great question. Thank you, by the way. So I think when we talk all things cross-chain, we just throw it in the bucket of like bridging. And then there's really two types of bridging. There's IBC, which is like on the blockchain level, and as long as you trust that other blockchain to not become corrupt, then it more or less works automatically, and there's not a bunch you have to do. And there's other blockchains that are starting to enable IBC, but right now you can just assume that's like just Cosmos for now. So beyond that, there's just ad hoc bridges, which is just like some group of people developing some sort of multi-signature scheme or locking up and minting burning token mechanism to be able to have like this cross-chain communication, but really there's like a central point of failure that isn't like this point of failure could go down without the actual blockchain becoming corrupt, which we've seen with like Axie Infinity's bridge and et cetera, et cetera. So yes, we have IBC out of the box, Cosmos all day long, like no problem. As far as the ad hoc bridges to the major ecosystems, yes, that is definitely on our mind. We understand that's part of being a top tier project. You need to come with a multi-chain framework, and we have that from day one. So our first virtual machine will be EVM, which will give us a serious leg up on building bridges with all the other key EVM chains, which seem to dominate the total market cap. And as far as other chain integrations, it's kind of just one-offs with like how you connect to all these other chains, and you have to have these trusted like bridging systems. And as long as your users are okay with that trade-off, which some are, if you want to get your coins from Solana into any other ecosystem, then that's how it goes. One fun point I'll add on, just as a final cherry on top, is that ETH moving to proof of stake is really interesting. That they have a finality mechanism built in there. So it's not quite Tendermint where the transactions become final instantly and it's very easy to make IBC. But there's a good chance that Ethereum too will develop some sort of IBC-like mechanism. So when transactions become final, you can send them between different L2s or roll-ups or whatever once like they're final on the chain. So that's an interesting way that Saga could work with Ethereum proof of stake in the future. Anyway, that was a long answer. I hope I covered all the bases of your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also one thing to add is on top of that, he mentioned Cosmos, but there's actually with IBC, there's really increased support of IBC to non-Cosmos chains, what people will consider non-Cosmos. And so, for example, Composables, I think they're testing now the actual IBC implementation connection from a Polkadot parachain and Kusama parachain to Cosmos chains as well. And so that should be enabled. And there's like a bunch of other ecosystems that are essentially developing IBC technology and hooking up to the broader interchain.
Near is another one, and I think Algorand is on the horizon, or the leaders are highly interested. So yeah.
The most interesting part of the virtual machine, almost.
Hey, real quick, your internet's a little spotty, so we won't be able to hear everything. I'll do my best to like answer what I can from what I hear.
Okay. What you said about the virtual machine being ready, like it's out pretty soon, and that would help because parachain on Polkadot EVM compatible. So of course, I'd love to look at when it's ready. Thank you very much, and also yeah. So yeah. Thank you very much for.
Yeah. So you broke up for some of that, but I think I caught just enough. So Polkadot parachains being EVM compatible through Moonbeam, yes. And then we'll also have a composable connection, and there's work being done right now to make you can use composable on any Polkadot or Kusama chain to use IBC instead of XCMP and take those trade-offs. And I think that's getting quite a bit of traction within their community, which is funny and inevitable because IBC is great. Okay, Phil, you are next up. And anyone that is in the audience that wants to ask a question, feel free to go ahead and ask it. Phil, you're coming up. Cool, you should be up here, Phil. Are you there? Hello. Oh, you're muted, Phil, if you want to unmute yourself.
Okay, sounds like I'm on. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
good.
I'm not too familiar with the stuff. So I had a bit of a technical question. Might have heard this one a lot in the past, but just wanted to make it clear that I do understand very well. So you're going to roll over multiple VMs in the future, starting with the EVM, as you said, and it's all going to run on a Tendermint core. And in that perspective, my question was, in terms of compatibility, is the entire tech stack of Cosmos through IBC, like the interchain queries and all of the things that are coming along the way, are they going to be compatible with those future VMs? Though for WASM, I understand it's going to be pretty easy. But for the other VMs, like, for example, Ethereum's and so on, is it going to be natively ICQ and all the advanced tech stack coming on the way compatible or not?
So that's a really good question. That's very technical. I love it. I can't answer with 100% certainty, but you can just roughly assume that for our EVM, we're going to be using some fork of Evmos, roughly. And then for our Cosm Wasm, it can be roughly some fork of Juno. So as long as those are compatible out of the box with the newest updates, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to have that. But I mean, again, I'm not like the lead engineer. We have a great Jacob McDormand is just an absolute genius. He could probably answer with a lot more detail than me. But yeah, I'd say roughly, yes, that should be good. On something like a Solana, if a Solana VM, someone makes a Tendermint compatible Solana VM, those developers would have to ship the necessary pieces and parts to have the ICA and ICQ or whatever, come out of the box, because we're not going to be doing that development.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, that was a simple question. The other one I had in mind is just for you to say if that corroborates the vision you have of the project. But from an external point of view, as I try to figure out what places Saga could take in the overall big scheme of things, it really, in my personal opinion, first at first glance looked like an Evmos competitor, and I was like, what really is the relative different market shares that these two projects might compete for? But actually, turns out I figured out you had different visions, and that what you wanted to build is totally different from Evmos, which is most smart contract oriented, where you are more like we want to deploy kind of a nebula for blockchains themselves, so that they can easily test features. And if they seem to be successful enough, then you're going to help them migrate to their own self-sovereign blockchains. The way Evmos does, but it seems more that you really want to create successful projects for them to migrate away from Saga. Is it true?
I'd say the Cosmos vision from day one has always had like a sliding scale of sovereignty, and it's always focused on like whatever fits best for you. So yeah, I think your point holds, that if someone becomes a super successful chainlet and creates this huge amount of economic value and demand for just a huge amount of the Saga total block space available, then it makes perfect sense for them to fork off onto their own chain. And I would hope there'd be some sort of airdrop to Saga holders or some way to incentivize to bring over your ecosystem. It might just be minting new coins, and now you went from having a coin on Saga to your own like solid L1. Like that investment's going to pay big if you got in early on that game or that DeFi application or whatever it was that crushed it. So I think you're right. I don't know if that's like it should be our number one goal is to get people to like move off, because we want people to like
no. That wasn't put it in the right direction. So no, it's not to say that. My point was, at some point, if there's some kind of a threshold in which projects can some kind of cross it over with, then it would definitely make sense for them to retain full sovereignty. So that,
for sure,
in that perspective, your end game is not to create the big ones of tomorrow, but just to be the nebula in which they can make their first steps and prove value to the rest of the ecosystem until they find enough trigger points to make good sense for their community to ask for forking into their own self-sovereign chains.
Yeah, I like the term nebula. Like it's just it's like a star breeding ground, and if they like gather enough mass to like become their own like star that they don't need like the support of the nebula, they should go out and be their own like sovereign entity and take all the benefits of that.
It's kind of bridging down the edge prices of how much it costs for someone to develop by bringing them the early needs they will have, like kind of bringing the gas needed to create stars. And then, of course, you let the gravity do the job.
Yeah, I think that's really fun. But yeah, the whole idea is just from day one, it was always just to lower the barrier of entry to the IBC multi-chain app chain world, because we knew that was the future, but we also knew that doing a Cosmos chain from scratch was not the best option for everybody. If there was a easier way to automatically deploy and inherit security, you don't have to design the tokenomics, and you can already inherit this massive level of security. So like that's where Cosmos Hub also comes in, but that's more of a different process where you have to like submit a governance proposal and get through, and then you're more like in the club. And I think that's perfectly fine. But we're more of like a permissionless access to block space, is kind of like commoditizing block space is one of the terms we use.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear in the first place. So this is really now I can easily figure out what your market shares are. At least you're not trying to compete with other projects in the ecosystem. You have your own market shares. Eventually some competition will come. And this is the reason why I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts about Celestia?
I can't
So
even tell you the
actually,
number of times we've been asked this, but yeah,
yeah.
go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I assume, but I never heard the answer. So I bet you have 1,000 times that question. But let's do the TLER in here. If you had in one sentence to tell me what is the main difference, just go for one sentence thing. The whole thing I'm going to study more deeply. Anyway, you're more advanced than they are in terms of expectable release, I guess. So
I
I
can give
see
my
you
first
ahead of
shot.
them.
I can give my
But
first
okay,
shot, and then
go ahead,
Rebecca
go
can
ahead.
go. So I think Celestia is very much all in on the modular blockchain thesis, to the point where they are almost like ignoring, or they're just like assuming that stuff will fill in the other parts of the stack, where we're more of like an all-in-one package, where we're just really focusing on simplifying the experience. So you don't need to have people figure out the difference between a data availability layer, roll ups, the centralization trade offs you have to make with the sequencer and all that stuff. Like that, it's a lot. Like, we don't think everyone wants to do that. And Celestia is like, we might even work with Celestia in the future for certain things. Like, we're not directly competitors. We're just we're both trying to like commoditize block space in a sense, but they're
Yeah, yeah.
super all in on the modular blockchain thesis, where we
Yeah,
have a
like
little.
I said, I just wanted a simple sentence answer. But anyway,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
think you really
Yeah.
got it. You
Yeah.
just confirmed what I thought all along. That
Okay, cool.
you understand that you are part of a bigger ecosystem and you just can't do it all.
For
Otherwise,
sure.
you're gonna do everything, but you're gonna do it poorly. That's what I think Celestia is all about. They wanted to do everything. They're kind of another competing layer zero where there's already a crowded space out there where the whole Cosmos ecosystem has already made a lot of progress in that sense. So kind of going competition with the whole ecosystem seems like a real challenge. And I wish they will succeed, but it still is complicated to me from the outside, where I think you're taking the biggest piece of the puzzle by having a more realistic project and bridging some needs when they are definitely some needs.
Yeah, I think that was good. Thanks for all your questions, man. Those were really fantastic. Sorry, Rebecca never got her chance to give her give
Yeah,
her
yeah,
give her one
yeah.
sentence summary of the difference. Feel free if you want to give that a shot, Rebecca.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Joe. No, thanks very much for that. No, that was a great answer. And Phil, truly, thanks for all the great questions. So I actually have something to add for all three of the questions that you asked, but I'll go in reverse order. So with respect to Celestia, it's true. We get this question pretty much every single time we talk to external parties. And everything Joe said is accurate. They are focusing squarely on the data availability piece of the stack, which means that you have to come up with everything else if you're going to use them. And for us, the modular part really comes in on the security layer. So what we're saying to projects is you don't have to worry about your chain. You don't have to worry about the validator set, your token economics, your security model, none of that. We will take care of it for you. Now, because the security layer is so fundamental to the rest of the stack, people are just building their projects outright on Saga. So that, I would say, that's the main difference. For Celestia, it's we'll give you one piece and you figure out the rest. And for Saga, our scaling envisions that you take what you have, or you take what you want to build and you build it all here. But it's still done in a modular way. With respect to your second question, Phil, about the kind of, oh my goodness, I'm already forgetting. But oh yes, so Saga projects. What's the nature of a Saga project? So everything that Joe said is right, and I think your suspicion that projects that are looking to get started very quickly, just looking to get onto some sort of infrastructure, hopefully it's a dedicated block space situation, so that they're able to take advantage of all the benefits of that. We want to give them a platform for that. So that's absolutely true. So I would say that when Saga first started, we anticipated more projects would be coming off of Saga after they reach a certain point. But at this stage, having worked with all these projects that are building on us, I don't know if that's 100% true anymore. There will certainly be chains like the DYDXs of the world, for instance, that insist on their own governance model. They want to use their token for staking purposes. Those two aspects are things that you do give up when you get onto Saga. Of course, you can have elective governance. You can have your own token. but it's not going to be used to stake the chain. So we can definitely see a project after they get to a certain point and they want those two things that they move off. However, with respect to most projects, I would say convenience is an incredibly powerful drug. And if you, as a developer in Web3, you're able to get your own dedicated block space that somebody else completely takes care of and abstracts away from you, the likelihood is that you just stay on it. And that's the pattern that we're seeing. We're also seeing that projects that are already built on Solana or Polygon or Avalanche or some other layer one, they're nevertheless building on Saga because they want to go, quote unquote, multi-chain. A lot of games want as much liquidity, as much community as possible for their applications. And for that reason, they're going multi-chain quite early. So for those games, Saga is their entryway into Cosmos and into the greater Saga community, which is, it's, yes, a lot of Cosmos, but it's also many of these other ecosystems. So we anticipate a lot more projects staying on than we thought. And with respect to your first question about the different kinds of VMs, so as Joe said, the EVM that we're using now is a fork off of Ethos. A lot of work went into Ethermint in order to have an EVM that was compatible with Cosmos. That same exercise has to be undertaken for VMs coming from other ecosystems. So Solana VM, it's not as simple as just taking a Solana VM that maybe works for Solana and plugging it into Cosmos. We may do some of that development in-house, but the truth of the matter is that there are lots of projects out there that are working to solve these problems. And right now, a lot of the development of the Saga protocol is happening with the core team. Having said that, sooner rather than later, we would like to start giving it out to the community and incentivizing the community to start adding to the protocol. And as we keep expanding to additional VMs, I think that a lot of that work is going to be done by the community as opposed to the core team. So there are some opportunities there for greater Saga developers to get involved as well.
Yeah,
So,
and from what I can see on the outside, is that most of your team members' job is going to be supplying all the data and informations on how to build those chains to those kind of startup nebula. Meaning, this is where I see the demand from the projects that you're building. Is, if of course, starting with the EVM and WASM is definitely going to be where most of the demand is likely going to come. And in that perspective, I think where you can stand out from the other projects that might be working in parallel to some similar way of doing things is by bringing in the tech stack and the teams to help these guys work the best possible way they could. Like adding the knowledge and sharing it with, like just what a startup nebula would do is just bringing people all together, teach them what they need to be taught, and let them create all together and to see which one stands out. So that's where I've seen you since day one. So I think this is true to you. If I said that vision that you're a kind of a startup nebula, you're going to let the magic happen and just support by bringing in the technological knowledge when it's needed.
so one thing I would like to quickly add, it kind of touches two of the questions that you've asked, but the way to think about in my opinion, the way that like Saga, there's like a real world analogy here in Web 2 to what we're trying to do essentially. And if you take a look at how Amazon Web Services was originally kind of brought into the world, it tried to make essentially making taking over and making servers and mainframes a lot easier for web developers, right? And so that was like the original thing, and people thought, hey, maybe these little projects that were on AWS would eventually spin out and people would make their own mainframes, and that's definitely true. But you know, even those who use their own servers today still have some part of use and some need for using Amazon Web Services as a cloud provider, in addition to kind of like their mainframe, their server products. And so ultimately, we can kind of see this as a way that the blockchain market will go, where certain teams will want to spin up their own blockchains, right? But there will always be use cases that something like Saga will be able to offer on top of kind of launching their own chains as well to help scale the chain and things like that. So that's kind of one way to think about this, and that goes into the whole VM model. And if you kind of squint your eyes and look at Saga as kind of like the Amazon Web Services of block space, you can kind of see how we will the way to deal with different VMs and different technologies is the kind of like the right way to build a platform. Which if you kind of slice it through, the way it works is essentially there's Amazon Web Services. You can kind of put whatever technology on top of it, right? You can put Ruby on Rails, you can put different kinds of web technology on top, and Amazon kind of supports all of that and makes sure that that's available. But it's really up to the technology providers to put whatever features that the users want, right? So ultimately, that's kind of like the way that we will function as well, where if there is EVM or Cosmosm or something like that, there's the teams and the communities that are developing those modules. We'll make sure that all of that works really well with the Saga infrastructure, but it is really up to those teams to kind of maintain and update that. And as Rebecca mentioned, we'll be looking and actively contributing to a lot of these technologies as it gets onboarded onto Saga, but it will be primarily like whatever those entities are who wants to do that. And so from Saga's perspective, we'll be providing the scaffolding and the infrastructure needed to launch a chainlet. But nitty-gritty wise, like will there be interchain security or interchain queries and things like that? That will ultimately be related to the technology parties, kind of in the same way that if you look at how Ruby on Rails gets deployed on Amazon Web Services, it's not really up to Amazon to determine how to get those features on. It's up to the Ruby on Rails team ultimately, right? So that's kind of like what I wanted to add is like another perspective of how to think about what Saga is and how we think about partnerships and technology and ultimately the ecosystem.
Yeah, and thanks a lot for that. That was a different angle that I really didn't anticipate in the first place. So this is something I'll dig deeper into this. So thanks a lot for bringing it in. I'm not going to take any more of your time, guys. That's really nice of you to have taken the time to answer those questions anyway. So it was a pleasure to meet with you guys. First time I go into those Twitter stuff. So thank you a lot for your time. I'll dig deeper into this. It sounds very interesting. Brought new angles of vision to this perspective.
Can you ping me a DM so we can get your contact information to follow up?
Yeah, I think you get it. I don't know if you can see me. It's just basically, this is my Twitter handle here at Phil Eriks. So easy. You can PM me.
Yep.
I'll definitely see this one.
Your DMs are turned off, but okay.
Pleasure if you want to talk deeper on those perspectives. Very interesting.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming up here. And going back to your point on like how the vision developed for you over this conversation, like the same thing can be said about us as we've worked through the Saga vision. Like our original idea of this project has changed so much to the point where it is now. And that's mostly just from talking to developers and going from like a first principles perspective of what is the best tool we can build. So it really did take us a while to get to our current design.
Yeah, and we can definitely find some synergies. I mean, I have a lot of experience in the investing world and financials, economics, and all of these things. So I can definitely help you out the best I can. And of course, just you take whatever you want from this. So yeah, I think interesting talks ahead.
Sweet. Thanks for coming up here. We appreciate it.
Be happy to talk with you guys. Thank you for today. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye. Awesome. Well, I guess anyone else in the audience, feel free to wave your hand or nudge me if you want to come up and ask a question. Is there any other topics that we need to cover? I feel like we covered quite a bit today, everybody. Yeah, I guess if you are developing in Web3, you feel free to reach out to us. Our innovators pipeline is kind of closed-ish at the moment, but obviously if you are developing an amazing project in Web3, feel free to hit us up and we can figure it out. So
on that, Joe, the initial cohort of Saga innovators is set, but as Joe said, we're always looking for great projects. I mean, as you can probably tell just from talking to the team, we are a very open bunch. And so we're always happy to support developers, support the projects that they're building. So definitely please get in touch. What it means for the innovator program to be quote unquote closed for the time being is you can imagine being able to get through 55 innovators and make sure they all have a great experience is going to take a little bit of time. But there's always the next cohort of the innovator program. And once that opens up for projects that are talking to us now, I mean, obviously you would get first priority for that. And again, the purpose of really organizing people into different cohorts of these programs is to make sure that you get meaningful interaction with the team. Now, of course, once we scale a little more, then these programs will happen a lot more frequently, and the class sizes can be a lot bigger. But bigger point being, if you are working on a project, you're interested in Saga, we'd love to hear from you. And we'll try to get you onto the protocol as soon as possible. Short of that, we will find other ways to support your project, whether it's through co-marketing or participation in our other developer programs. But suffice to say, if you're working on a project, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, if there's no more questions, I guess we could probably close it up here. We definitely appreciate everybody coming in here. This is a great conversation today. Do you have any closing remarks, Jen or Rex?
No, I think Rebecca covered everything.
Yep. Get in touch with me via DM if you have any questions. I would love to talk further.
Yep, second that. Feel free to reach out to the Saga main account. We'll get back to you. And yeah, it's great having everybody here today. And stay tuned for the Twitter space tomorrow with Jack Zamplin talking about ETH2 versus Tendermint, and the blog post that's coming that is very well researched. And if you are not an expert on ETH2 consensus like I wasn't before this, check it out. You'll learn something really interesting. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all coming here. Bye-bye.
Thanks.